Hello everyone. In today's video, we're going to find out if AI is up to the task of providing you with sound investment advice. We're putting Google's AI chatbot BARD to the test, and we're going to assess its ability to provide stock research and financial analysis on real data. Large language models like BARD and ChatGPT have showcased performance meeting or exceeding that of humans on a number of different tasks. We've seen plenty of research on how these large language models perform on standardized tests, but very few people have had the opportunity to see how these AI systems perform in real-world applications. This is exactly what we're going to do today. I'm going to test Google's BARD on 5 financial analysis tasks. The 5 tasks I'll be testing BARD on include describing a company's business operations and revenue model, summarizing an earnings release and extracting useful insights, writing a market analysis for a specific industry, screening a list of stocks based on a user's query, and finally, performing financial statement analysis and comparing 2 stocks. I'll be scoring BARD on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of these tasks. At the end, we'll be able to review BARD's performance. We'll be able to see its strengths, see its weaknesses, and we'll be able to determine how good of a financial tool it is for investors and investment professionals today. Before we get started, some people might wonder why I'm choosing BARD for this assessment and not ChatGPT. I do plan to do a similar assessment of ChatGPT soon. But BARD has one feature which makes it particularly useful for analyzing stock market data and doing research on companies. BARD has no knowledge cutoff date. ChatGPT, including GPT-4, has a knowledge cutoff date in September 2021. This means that the model has no information on events that occurred after that date. BARD, on the other hand, has information right up to the current date, which is of course useful if you want to get current information about a company or the markets. Okay, I'm super excited to see how well BARD performs on these tasks, so let's get started. First test we're going to perform is we're going to see how BARD can explain a company's operations and break down its business model. The first company we're going to test this on is NVIDIA. I'm giving BARD this prompt: write an overview of NVIDIA's operations and business model, provide descriptions and breakdowns of the company's operating segments, products, geographic presence, customers, industry position, and the revenue model. Let's see what BARD gives us back. Okay, BARD says NVIDIA is a leading global technology company, designs GPUs. This is of course correct. NVIDIA's operating segments are gaming, data center, professional visualization. That is also correct. They also have a 4th operating segment called automotive, but the vast majority of the company's revenue is in the gaming and the data center segments. Revenue model is based on the sale of its products. The company generates recurring revenue from the sales of its GPUs for gaming and data centers. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Generally speaking, the revenue model of NVIDIA is not recurring in nature. They do have some recurring revenues, but to say that they generate recurring revenue from the sales of its GPUs is not completely correct. So most of the information here is pretty accurate, except for this one comment about recurring revenue. This gives the impression that it's more of a recurring revenue model business, whereas that's actually not the case with NVIDIA. We're going to take this a step further. We're going to ask BARD to give us a table that illustrates NVIDIA's revenue by operating segment in their most recent fiscal year, which was 2023. Okay, let's take a look. Here's a table illustrating NVIDIA's revenue by operating segment in the most recent fiscal year. Again, BARD is identifying the gaming, data center, and professional visualization segments, not the automotive segment. Let's see if these numbers are correct. We can check these directly against the company's fiscal 2023 results. Data center, that's correct. 15.01. How about the gaming revenue? For gaming, this number is actually off. The company produced 9.07 billion for fiscal 2023 in its gaming division. That was down 27%. So I think what's happening here is that BARD may actually be giving us the number, the gaming segment revenue from the previous year. I'm going to check that. So that would have been 11.5 billion from the previous year, 11.9. So that's fairly close, not exact. Professional visualization, 1 billion, whereas the real number was 1.54 billion. So these numbers are somewhat close in some cases, but they're off. For task number 1, I'm going to give BARD a 4 out of 10. It correctly identified NVIDIA's main operations and its operating segments, but it completely missed the mark on the revenue model, and it made some data errors on the revenue breakdown from the different segments. Okay, so BARD is not off to a great start, but let's see how it does on the next task. Let's go to test number 2. For this test, I'm asking BARD to summarize a public company earnings release. In this case, we're going to look at the Q1 2023 earnings release of Amazon. I'm asking BARD to highlight any information that would be relevant to an investment analysis of the company, including overall and segmented financial performance, guidance, outlook, and management commentary. Let's see what BARD has to say. BARD's summary highlights the overall financial performance, saying that the revenue increased 9% to 127.4 billion, and that operating income increased 4.8 billion compared to 3.7. Let's see how these compare to the actual numbers. And those numbers are right on. The revenue growth and the operating income growth is accurate. What else does BARD have to say? Segment performance. AWS continued to be the company's most profitable segment with operating income of 5.1 billion. North American segment operating income was 0.9 billion, and international segment operating income was negative 1.2 billion. That also appears to be accurate based on the information in the press release. So far it's looking pretty good. Guidance, Amazon's guidance for the second quarter of 2023 is for net sales between 116 and 121 billion. So here we actually see an issue. Based on the company's earnings release, it says that second quarter guidance is expected to be 127 to 133 billion. Another thing I notice is that BARD's summary does not highlight the operating income. So BARD's summary is certainly off there. Overall, the earnings release was mixed. The company's overall financial performance was strong, but its guidance for the second quarter was below expectations. I don't know what the expectations were, but it's not giving us the right guidance anyways. Then there's some additional information here as well. When I look at the earnings release, one of the headwinds that is probably most important to me as an analyst is that the AWS business is seeing customers spending more cautiously in the current macro environment. That's an important thing to highlight because AWS effectively produces almost all the company's operating income. So that's obviously a very important part of the business. Another thing I would probably have highlighted would be the outflow of free cash flow of 3.3 billion. For task number 2, I'm going to score BARD a 5 out of 10. What really impressed me is that it did give fairly accurate information on the revenue and the operating earnings numbers in the recent quarter. I'm also impressed that I didn't have to copy and paste the earnings release into BARD's interface. So this shows that BARD does have access to real-time recent information. Where BARD lost points was, of course, getting the revenue guidance wrong, not including the operating income guidance, and also missing a few very important insights. That does it for part 1 of the series. Join us for part 2, where we're going to have BARD write an industry and market analysis and also screen a list of stocks based on our own custom queries. If you're interested in AI for finance, then check out one of my other videos. Remember to subscribe and also like and comment on this video if you're interested in seeing more of this type of content. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.